Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is RACHELRAE and today I'm here with my husband, James.
Hi everybody.
And today we're going to talk about something that I don't know anything about because it's Theory Tuesday! Woohoo! Oh wait, no. It was the other one.
I think you
I
probably...
was trying to work in a theme song.
Well, that one is definitely taken, but you might be on the right track with the...
No, that's Batman.
That is Batman.
Sorry, Batman. Right. Now I've got Doctor Who's theme song stuck in my head. Right. Before we get started today, this is a video where we talk about theoretical stuff. So it could be anything, really. And so join us. Get out your work in progress, whatever you're working on. It doesn't have to be diamond painting. It could be whatever craft you want to work on right now and listen to our lovely voices. Just kidding. Today I'm working on Where the Fun Never Ends, and you can hear my dog. Where the Fun Never Ends by Diamond Art Club. And last time that we were together, I was somewhere over here, I think. Anyway, I've done a little bit, and I'm using my accessories that came in the Pride box from paintingwithdiamonds.co.uk. So that's what all this lovely rainbow-themed stuff is. We don't need no green boat. And I'll have everything that I'm using linked down below in the description box. Isn't that pretty? So, hand turn heaven. Right. First things first, though, before we get into whatever we're talking about today, we had a few people asking about your new job and how you like it. So how do you like your new job?
Yeah, it's okay. I'm still kind of learning the ropes and stuff, you know?
Yeah, as expected, but...
Yeah, but it's okay. I'm enjoying it.
I'm liking that 9-to-5 job.
I'm really liking it. 9 to 5, yeah.
It's nice to have something to do after so many months of indecision and up and down and.
Oh man, that pandemic was tough. Like this.
Yeah.
You know.
For a lot of people, it's not over yet either. So we have to be mindful of that. But
yeah, and I mean, if you'd have asked me like a month or even 5 weeks ago how I'd be doing now, I'd have said probably similar to how it is. You know, it all just turned around real quick, you know.
Yeah, it was all of a sudden you started getting job offers.
Yeah.
And that's awesome.
It is, yeah. It's really good. Yeah.
Thank you for continuing to be on the show with me, though.
Oh, yeah. No
and making time for it, because everybody seems to really love it. And, there were a few comments as well. Like, last video, we had Larkin ask, do you know about Missing 411? Which I've never heard of before.
I do, yeah. It's this former law enforcement guy, and he does a lot of he does an awful lot of books and documentaries about people that have gone missing on publicly owned land in the States.
Okay.
You know, in like national forests and stuff like that, and national parks.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I had heard of the Sierra stuff and read about it.
Uh-huh.
And then one day I was watching one of his shows, and that's the guys with the Bigfoots were on that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I know that in a very short period of time, he's become really massive with people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that it was a little bit strange that I have in no way. I've watched maybe 1 or 2 of his documentaries, you know.
Okay, but you know of him, and maybe we can talk about him someday.
I thought it was really unusual when he started talking to the guys from the Sierra Sounds thing.
Yeah.
I remember watching it, and it seemed, because he'll do a segue and it'll be maybe 20 minutes long, and it'll talk about a different missing person, you know?
Yeah.
And kind of try and tease out these threads of of the similarities between them, you know?
So it's kind of like us.
Yeah, and then he was talking to these guys, and they were like heading up the mountain on horseback, and then he showed the photos, and I was like, oh my god, I know those photos. And then I didn't know what to think, you know? Is he trying to suggest that Bigfoot is responsible for some of these missing people, or...
He
doesn't say anything like that, like,
okay.
You know.
I mean, that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting, but
yeah.
Who knows? Anyhow.
Anyway, yeah, well, that's something we could maybe get into later. Like,
yeah, it's an idea anyway. And, did you guys see the new merchandise? Did you get to see it?
Did I get to see it?
Well, James actually designed it. So James is the artist for our new merch line, which is Sasquatch, hold my beer. Sasquitch, the lady, and Sasquirt. What did I call him? Sasquirt. Anyway, the child. But for fear of being like copyrighted, here's a picture, so you can have a look at what they look like. And yeah, those designs made by James himself are now available in our
what a shameless plug.
Listen, it was so funny, and people are still laughing and talking about Sasquatch.
We should have discussed this before the recording.
Sasquatch. Anyway, no, you could do what you want, but I'm just proud of my hubby for his artistic skill. Okay. Anyway, what are we talking about today?
Today, this is something that Mama Say, I think you would pronounce it, suggested that we look into a while ago. You know.
Oh, someone who commented.
Yeah, someone that commented maybe about 2 weeks ago, and it's the Kentucky hobgoblin.
Oh.
Yeah. And I guess I started looking into the hobgoblin, and then you remember the first rule of internet research in like unusual esoteria?
Uh-oh.
The first rule is like at the end of every rabbit hole there's 2 rabbit holes.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
So I started looking into it, and then I found a rabbit hole, and I just basically went following that.
Awesome.
I had read about
on a rabbit hole today.
Yeah, and I mean I had read about this years ago, you know. Mm-hmm. And this unusually this time when I went to read about it, I couldn't find the same sources as before. You know, there were like I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to explain, but let's.
Can I just interrupt you for a second? Because like when I think of hobgoblins, I now only think of that brand of beer.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So I wonder if, like, that's the picture that I have stuck in my mind right now. So I don't know if.
I think a lot of people would suggest that beer was involved in this, but we, you know.
Oh, we're not there yet, though.
We're not there yet, though.
Ooh, good guess.
but they may be suggesting that based on classism or something, you know.
Is it? Because right.
I think so. Sorry. Anyway, do you want to get into it? And
let's get into it.
We can talk it through.
Yeah.
So like on this takes place in a place called Kelly in Kentucky.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and it's not that far from a big enough town called Hopkinsville.
Okay.
And then Hopkinsville itself isn't actually that far from Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah? Which is obviously not in Kentucky, like.
Obviously, yeah.
But it's not that far from there.
It's in the South.
It's in the South, yeah.
Kentucky's in the South.
Yeah. As far as I know. Yeah, so it took place on August the 21st, okay?
Okay.
It's 1955, all right?
Okay.
And you're in rural Kentucky.
Got it.
Okay? And then suddenly this, like, beat up Ford pickup truck just pulls up outside this police station, you know? Mm-hmm. They didn't describe what kind of car. That's what I'm picturing, you know?
Right.
And there are, so there's a load of people in the car. There's 8 adults. There's 3 children. And they arrive at the Hopkinsville police station at 11 p.m., yeah? And they're talking about this story about how they've been attacked and even been in a firefight with a load of little green men, and it's gone on over a number of hours, you know.
Okay.
And they're there. The police are laughing at them. They're saying, "Oh, this is ridiculous" or whatever, you know. And then they leave and go back to their home. All right.
Right.
And the police actually made a statement. Like, this is a quote from one of the policemen, and he says, "These weren't the kind of people who would normally run to the police for help."
Oh.
Yeah. So let's
making moonshine.
There's a load of characters here. Like there's eight adults and 3 children. You know.
Are they in the same family?
They're all kind of in the same family. So there's one guy, Elmer, who goes by Lucky, and Vera Sutton. Okay, and they're a married couple.
Okay.
And then there's a younger married couple as well, and that's Billy Ray and June Taylor. And they've worked together. Billy Ray is 21. June is about 18 years old.
Okay.
I think they're from Pennsylvania.
Oh.
Okay. And so they worked on carnivals, traveling around. They were carnies, you know?
Okay.
And they worked on carnivals together. And they're there visiting Elmer's family. Okay?
Mm-hmm. And
Elmer's family is his brother, John Charlie, that they call J.C. Sutton.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. O.P. Baker, who's Vera's brother.
Mm-hmm.
Vera's married to Lucky. There's a lot of people in this story.
Okay, right. Well,
but and then there's this lady called Glennie Langford, okay?
okay.
And it's actually Glennie Langford's house.
Okay.
She's like the matriarch of the family. She has like 5 kids. There's 3 young kids, and then there's another 2 kids that she has. But I think that they're older. You know, like they're fully grown kids.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they're 18 or 19 or whatever, yeah?
Yeah.
So you've got these 8 adults and these 2 kids, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all visiting. They're staying in this 3-bedroom shack. Well, I guess we call it a shack now, but it was a house in like rural Kentucky in the 50s, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So no running water, no electricity, outhouse. You get the water from a well.
Right.
Yeah?
Hard life.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it was easy, you know? So they all get together. So what do you think happens? This is part of the discussion. Like, what do you think happens when like these people get together? Like, Lucky and Vera Sutton, Billy Ray and June Taylor. They get off of, their season of traveling with the carnival, and they go and visit J.C. Sutton and all these other. What do you think when they have this big family reunion? What do you think happens?
Big fights happen.
That is no, but like, yeah.
I don't know.
I guess okay.
Barbecue.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna kick back, isn't it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, people, there's an argument here because like I was trying to work this out and I couldn't find any definite definitions of things, so I just made it up. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the way I got it figured, there's 3 levels of party in rural Kentucky in the 50s. Okay?
If anyone out there can verify that,
There are 3
hilarious.
levels. Now, I'm not so sure about this one, but there's a jamboree.
Let's try not to offend anyone, okay?
No. Because this comes into it, right? Because there's a jamboree, okay?
Okay.
Now, a jamboree has food and games and fun and good times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's child friendly. There's probably no alcohol at it.
Okay.
Okay? Then you've got a hoedown, right? Now, a hoedown is kind of it can be child friendly.
Can it?
Well, it can be child friendly earlier in the night.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Before the kids are put to bed. Now, there's alcohol at a hoedown, and there's not more than 2 instruments. Okay?
Okay.
Now, then you've got the highest level, which I would class as a hootenanny.
Is that...
Now,
Ow, is that actually a real word, though?
a hootenanny?
Yeah.
A hootenanny is a real word. Yeah, you could have a hootenanny.
Oh my god.
Now, a hootenanny is not child friendly. And it probably has more than 2 instruments. You know? So just keep that in mind, because there's a lot of explanations about what's going on here. Can I just before you start deciding what kind of a party is happening here, can I show you a photo of the lady of the house?
Yeah, show me.
Glennie Langford.
Show me. Hold on. Oh, she looks mean.
Does Glennie look like the kind of person that would be down for
I don't think she's down for a hootenanny.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't even know if she's down for a hoedown.
I think that she would probably be okay with a jamboree.
Yeah.
You know, she seems firm but
looks,
fair, you know?
Yeah.
So
Clean up and get out by like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Don't be hanging around, people live here.
Exactly. So there's the story that they tell is that they're sitting down and they're playing cards. Okay?
Okay.
So they're sitting there and they're playing cards. And Billy Ray Taylor, he gets up and he goes to the well to get some water, you know?
Yep.
And then he comes back with this story, and he's saying that while he was out at the well getting some water, he says, like, suddenly this bright light, like, streaked across the sky and just kind of seemed to crash behind the tree line, you know?
Okay.
There's a little ridge there.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple of 100 meters from the house, and it crashed behind it.
And he saw greys.
No, he didn't see anything at that time. He just tells him about that, like, you know? And then there's other descriptions as well, but I don't know if this is later on. Like the other description he said is that he saw a silvery object with a real bright exhaust that was shining all the colors of the rainbow, you know?
Ooh.
But either way, he's getting water from the well. He comes back and he tells them, I've seen something in the skies, you know? And they all laugh at him. They're like, oh, Billy Ray, you know, you're pulling our leg or whatever, you know?
And he's like, no, you don't understand, the Space Brothers.
No, he's shook up about it, and they go about playing cards again, but he can't relax, you know?
Right.
And he's all annoyed. He's all like hepped, you know? He's hepped up.
He's
like.
tense, like, yeah.
Yeah, he's tense.
Yeah.
So anyway, then the dog outside in the yard starts barking incessantly, you know?
Ooh.
Yeah. So Billy Ray, he looks at his friend Elmer, you know, who they call Lucky. He looks at Lucky.
Yeah.
And he says, come on, like, we gotta go investigate this, yeah? So they grab a pistol and a shotgun.
Did they grab a camera as well?
No, they don't. I don't think they had a camera, to be honest.
Like that guy.
Huh? Oh, your man that was always armed with the camera? Oh my God, what an edge. He was good.
He was so funny.
They go out and they're looking at the well, okay?
Okay.
Or they go out and they're looking around, and then suddenly the people inside the house, they hear some shots, okay? And they're looking out. They're like, what's going on? Like, there's no lights here. You know, it's all like...
Yeah, there's no, like, electric lights.
Yeah, it's going to be those hurricane lamps with the wicks in it or whatever.
Oh, gosh.
So they see, and like, every once in a while, they're like lit up with a little, you know, muzzle flare over here and stuff.
Yeah.
And the guys are retreating back into the house.
Dang it.
You know, covering each other.
Yeah.
And they get back into the house, and Miss Glennie is like, what's going on? What's going on? What are you shooting at, guys? You know? And Billy Ray says, Miss Glennie, I hope you don't have to find out. But you know what? She finds out almost immediately, because they're being attacked by 10 to 15 little green men.
No way.
Yes way. Yes way. I'm telling you, like, so they described them as being 3.5 feet tall, okay?
Okay.
With oversized heads, and they were almost perfectly round. The arms extended way down past the knees, like almost to the ground, and they ended in these big talons, okay?
Ew.
And they had these oversized eyes that glowed with a kind of yellowish light on them, and they had these weird floppy ears. I actually have a photo of them.
Weird floppy ears.
Yeah, they had these weird, like, sometimes one of the descriptions I read of them were that the ears felt kind of almost like they looked like they were soft and velvety or something.
I was about to say, who touched it? Like, because...
Ooh, indeed.
Oh my God.
Do you want to have a look at the Kelly creature?
Yeah, let me have a look. Sorry. Wow.
Yeah.
That is not what I expected.
No. And it's not...
Are those webbed hands?
Those are... Yeah, the hands are webbed as well, yeah. In some of the images, they're webbed, and then...
Is it a water creature?
It's hard to say, but, like, I think that some people said that this is where the idea of the little green men comes from.
Oh.
You know?
Mm.
So the story that they tell, and, like... I read a few different accounts of this, and it's like something, you know, those movies where they're being attacked by zombies in a house.
Yeah,
it's like that. They're barricading the windows. You know what I mean? The women folk are trying to keep the kids all calm. They're hiding under the table. Miss Glennie is praying. The creatures are like sticking their head around door frame. Lucky lets off a shotgun blast at them. You know. They're like impromptu, like pushing bits of furniture up against windows and stuff, and this goes on for hours. And then there's a break.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a break in the...
Someone tripping.
There is a break in the shooting. And that's where they pile everyone into the back of the old beat up Ford pickup and head for Hopkinsville to the police station.
Okay.
And then they get no satisfaction from the police.
No.
You know?
It's 1950?
It's 1955, yeah. And, you know, they're like, oh...
They're like, pfft.
Yeah, and this is where it comes
They're
down.
from
like,
the carnival, so...
They're from the carnival, like,
Yeah.
and the authorities think, oh yeah, this looks like a standard case of a hootenanny getting out of control. You know? Yeah, this is definitely hootenanny territory here, like.
Oh my goodness.
So they head back, and apparently the neighbors, I think that the neighbors are complaining because basically there's just been shooting going on for a protracted period of time.
Yeah, and at nighttime.
Yeah, exactly, at nighttime. So then in the morning, wait till you hear this now.
Right.
In the morning, the authorities arrive. Okay? There are 4 policemen from Hopkinsville, 5 state troopers, 3 deputy sheriffs,
What?
and 4 military police
Dude.
from Fort Campbell. That is 7. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
That's too many people to count.
That's a lot of people. They're all carrying badges. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Can you imagine the classic fight they had about whose jurisdiction it was?
Right.
Do you know, you've got
Right.
like city police guys. It's like, go back to Hopkinsville. I'm a state trooper. You know, you're a trooper. This is deputy sheriff area. You know.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, step back. The military police are taking over. You know.
Maybe they all wanted the story.
So they came down. Now this is where it gets. You putting the wrong color in?
Yeah.
Ugh.
It's fine. Continue.
This is where it gets weird because I remember reading this story years ago, you know? And I read it so long ago that the internet didn't exist and it was in a book. And I remember distinctly that they said that the military police guys had found depressions in the ground, like they would be the landing pads from a UFO and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But I couldn't really find any information on that, you know?
Okay.
So, what it is anyway, is that they try to explain a couple of different things, you know? Now, one of my favorites that I came across is that it was a test flight of an experimental rocket.
Sure.
Oh, it gets better. That landed in the area, okay? And the rocket was carrying monkeys.
What?
Yeah. And the monkeys attacked the house.
What?
Yeah.
That doesn't even make any sense. Like, why would you even...
I don't know, like, but if I was a monkey and they put me in a rocket, I would...
And it crash landed.
Man, I'd be panicked.
In Kentucky?
I'd be
At
real.
a hootenanny?
Well, it could have just been a jamboree. We don't know. So that's the thing. And I tried. I mean, like I to be honest, like with work and stuff, I've done limited research on this. Like, but I couldn't find any of the juicy ones where they say that they found evidence of UFOs and stuff.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
But you know what I did find?
What?
I found an explanation that said that in the area there had been reports of a very aggressive pair of great horned owls.
But they were saying like several, not 2.
You remember the floppy ears?
Yeah.
Do you want to see a great horned owl?
Yeah, go on.
Let's
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
look at a great horned owl.
Show me. I can't believe I put down the wrong color. Ugh. They're not floppy.
They're not floppy. And I mean, like, I
It
don't...
doesn't look anything like a hobgoblin.
I don't really... I mean, like, it's... Because they were saying as well that, look, what it was a meteorite. Like, Billy Ray had seen a meteorite.
Yeah.
And then later on, they had been attacked for a prolonged period of time by 2 owls that were trying to protect their nest. Like, they had young in the nest. Like, I don't care what kind of owl you are. If someone shoots a gun at you, do you know what I mean?
You're out of there.
Like, for real though, aren't you? I mean, especially if they shoot at you loads of times, you know?
Yeah.
So
Sorry,
I
I was
don't
trying
know.
to make a WHOO joke there in my mind and it wasn't.
I had a stab at it earlier, like,
Yeah.
who was responsible? So,
Who's gonna pay?
but anyway, that got me thinking about another classic American UFO story.
Okay.
Okay?
So they never really pinned it down or anything.
It's definitely one of the most famous ones, and like, yeah, I mean, the what they say is, look, these guys were out in rural Kentucky, they were having a hoedown, and it just got out of hand.
She would never let a hoedown happen.
I couldn't see Glennie Langford just letting these two yahoos let at it with guns and stuff in her house. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she's got a strong no nonsense matriarch vibe about her, doesn't she?
She really does.
And like, I think that
You never know though. She might have let loose like once, and that was the last time.
I could see her giving Lucky Sutton a clipper on the back of the ear and telling him, sit down, like. But that got me thinking about another classic UFO story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one takes place in West Virginia.
Ooh.
That is correct. It takes place in the town of Flatwoods.
Yes.
This is something that you're quite familiar with.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Little aside. So my cousin is from West Virginia, and he's had a movie in the works for like over a decade about Flatwoods. So, small plug for Jamie. I'll have all of his links down below. Definitely go check out the trailer for this movie because it's gonna be awesome.
He's got lots of these lots of like 7 or 8 episodes of this kind of documentary thing. It's really interesting. You should go and watch it. It's really good. Like,
yeah, it's really good.
It kind of mixes the promo stuff anyway. Where, like, it's kind of like a prequel. It leads up to the start of the movie. Yeah. It's really worth a shot. Yeah, we'll put the links in there at the bottom. Like, totally. So Flatwoods is this small town. Okay, yeah. There's about 300 people there at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is 1952.
Okay.
And it's in Braxton County in West Virginia.
Mm.
And so on September 12th, okay, there's these two brothers, Ed and Freddie May, and they're playing in the schoolyard with their buddy Tommy Hoyer. Okay.
Okay.
Now they're like 13, 12, 10. Okay.
Okay.
They're playing in the schoolyard, and then suddenly they see this thing streak across the sky.
Mm.
Okay, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's a UFO" and stuff like this.
Is it like lights or?
It was like an orange ball of light.
Oh, okay. There you go.
It's streaked. It's the same kind of setup as what Billy Ray saw at the well. It streaks across the sky and it goes behind the tree line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they run off and they grab the May's mother, Kathleen May. Mm-hmm. Okay. And they're like, oh my God, we just saw something fly into the forest. It's coming. There's something up there. There's a weird. And like some of the descriptions as well say that there's an unearthly glow and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So they go running up, and while they're running up the kind of side of the hill into the woods, and they pick up some other people. They pick up this one guy. I have his name written down here.
Suspicious.
No, but it's really strange. Like, so as they're going along, they pick up another like 11 or 12-year-old, and he's got his dog with him,
Okay.
And then they pick up another guy, and then they stop to get this guy that's in the National Guard. And I wrote his name down, but I can't see it now. But they stop to get this guy in the National Guard, and no joke, the guy in the National Guard is 17 years old.
What?
For real, like. The 1950s.
Those were different times.
Oh man, you grew up quick in the 1950s.
Yeah.
It's like join the National Guard.
Everyone who was a teenager in the 50s must think that we were like absolute babies.
For real, man, for real. So they got up there, and they're inside in the woods, and they're shining it round, and the guy that's in the National Guard, whose name I cannot see, even though I wrote it down. The guy that's in the National Guard, he's shining his flashlight around,
Yeah.
And then suddenly, it glints off of these two eyes that are like glowing red,
Mm-hmm.
And they get freaked out, and they all just run. You
right,
know?
they just take off.
Yeah, they all just take off. Because what they had seen was this, and this description is so... Do you want to actually see this? Because
Yeah, of course.
just to give you an idea, they said that the creature is a 10-foot tall creature, right?
Right.
It's got a head shaped like a spade, but like a spade in a deck of cards, not like a spade you dig the ground with. You know?
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, you know, that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
spade
yeah.
shape.
Yeah.
And it appeared to be wearing, no joke, a dark metal dress. And it was floating. Try and get a picture of that in your head.
Exterminate.
For real though, it's like a Dalek, isn't it? But like,
I've seen it, so
you know what it is. You know what it
I know
looks like
what it
anyway.
is,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
but let's show the peoples.
Yeah, and that's Kathleen May there on the right.
Kathleen May on the right, and is that her drawing or?
I don't know who did the drawing.
That's really wicked. That's a cool drawing. I'm
Isn't
sorry,
it?
the hands are kind of.
Yeah.
They look a lot like the Hobgoblin.
I don't know if the guy on the left is one of the people involved. He could be the guy from the National Guard.
Guy.
He's the National Guard guy, yeah. So anyway, again, Kathleen May, she doesn't look like she'd mess around either, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so they run out of the woods, okay? And just to show you how scary it is, this guy John Gibson, who was a high school freshman at the time, he said, it was so scary. One of the boys peed his pants, and their dog, Ricky, ran around with his tail between his legs. I only put that in because he said peed his pants. So a while later, right?
Right.
Over the next while, there's a number of different sightings, yeah?
Yeah.
So there's a lady called Adura Harper, and she's with... Adura, yeah.
That's a great name.
Yeah, Audra. Adura. Is that how you would say it?
Say it again.
Audra.
Adora.
Audra.
I don't know.
So Audra Harper, anyway, and her friend, they're heading to the store, you know, from her house, and they're walking through the woods, and then they live about 5 miles. She's about 5 miles north of Flatwoods, you know.
Yeah.
She's walking the woods. She sees practically the same thing, you know.
Oh, really?
She says, yeah, with you know, like the thing, and it's floating off the woods and stuff like that. And when the guys see it as well, they report this strange smell, you know, and a weird kind of clicking noise, like it's clicking at them.
What does it smell like?
They don't go into much description, but the biggest description I heard of it was in one place. Now, this is another part of it. The description I got was from the Flatwoods Museum, the Flatwoods Monster Museum, you know?
Yeah.
And it said that like the people that had initially seen it, they had suffered from nausea and vomiting, and, you know, they had a lot of symptoms from this noxious smell and the gas that came out of it or whatever, you know? But
there are like a lot of mines and like marshy lands in West Virginia, is that right? So maybe, I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, we're not speculating yet. We're just we're just talking.
And they saw the same thing, but they didn't report any noxious smells, but they did report kind of clicking noises and stuff like that. Okay. Then George and Edith Sinowatsky. And they're traveling in their car down the highway. They've got their 18-month-old son in the car with them. And they're driving down the road between Clay and Braxton counties on Route 4. Okay. And the car just dies. Okay? Okay. So they get out of the car and they're trying to get it started. And then suddenly, what's that smell? And they start to get this noxious kind of... It's... Oh my God, that's actually a better... Yeah, they start to get a noxious sulfurous, and they're like going, oh man, we gotta change this baby, you know? So they start to get this noxious smell. Yeah. And then a weird unearthly glow, and they spin around, and there, standing in front of them, right, is this 10-foot tall creature.
Exterminate. Sorry.
This creature, though, the one that they describe,
yeah,
it doesn't have that spade-shaped thing over the head.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay.
But it is floating off the ground. And they get right back in the car and lock the doors. And it comes along and it floats past them. And they said it had a lizard-like reptilian head. And
Yeah.
it drags
Dragging
its claw
its
across the front of their car and just drifts calmly off into the woods.
I've got the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah. Pretty scary, yeah? So they were saying that the reason it didn't have the spade-shaped thing on its head was because that's a helmet and it wasn't wearing the helmet this time and it was some kind of floating metal dress-wearing lizard, which, in fairness, is pretty metal.
You do you.
That is pretty metal. Like, it really is. So all of this excitement, anyway, it gets written up by this guy called Gary Barker.
I'm sorry. Can I just? It kind of sounds like that thing from Mystery Science Theater 3000.
What's that?
The TV show.
I know the TV show. Yeah.
The puppet that, like,
Oh, the gumball machine one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Or even the gumball machine one, the little one.
Crow.
I don't know their names.
It's in the song. Crow, Tom Servo.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's in the song.
Oh, whoops. Anyway. Continue.
Anyway, this guy called Gary Barker, right? And he's also from Braxton County. Okay? And he's kind of like a journalist and he had written stuff for the 14 Times. Do you know the 14 Times? The 14 Times is the thing that got me interested in all of this weird stuff back before the internet, back in like Ireland in the mid-90s,
Oh, I was a child.
Yeah, my older cousin gave me a stack of these 14 Times,
14 times?
It's this guy, Charles Fort, and he's like an American writer.
14.
14, yeah.
Okay.
And like 14 is a general description for, I guess, what you would call like high strangeness kind of events, or like,
High strangeness.
Yeah, I'm just using it because it's a term a lot of people use for these things, like, for real, like high strangeness. Like. So
epic weirdness.
Epic weirdness would be a new one. Yeah, updated first. So Gary Barker, anyway, is actually a native of Braxton County. Okay, so in 1956, so this is 4 years after the event. He writes a book called "They Knew Too Much About the Flying Saucer." Like, they just don't come. People don't.
Did they know too much?
They knew too much about the flying saucers, and he wrote in the story. In his factual book, that popularized this. He wrote about these guys that travel in groups of 3, right?
Right.
They travel in large black Cadillacs.
Oh.
And they wear black suits.
The Men in Black?
Yeah, this this guy, Gary Barker, invented the Men in Black.
Whoa.
For real, like. And so they show up and they're supposed to ask all these questions about things, and kind of tell people, maybe what you saw was swamp gas, or how about a meteor?
Swamp gas.
Yeah, maybe it was swamp gas. Could be anything. Who knows?
It's definitely not your child. It's swamp gas.
It's definitely not. Yeah, it was swamp gas, and the strange orange glow. Why, that's nothing but please look into this pin. So you always mess this up, Gary. So that's the story. So it gets into the media and everything like that,
Yeah.
I believe they even wrote about it in Time magazine.
Really?
Yeah, which at the time was the biggest selling magazine in the States, and it attracts the attention of the Air Force and this Project Blue Book. You know Project Blue Book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it attracts the interest of Project Blue Book, and they send a couple of investigators down. I tried to see if J. Allen Hynek was involved in this personally, but...
Who's that?
J. Allen Hynek is like an astronomer that was in charge of Project Blue Book.
Oh.
I think he worked at some university in the Midwestern states or something like that. And he's an interesting character. He's nearly worth the thing himself, like, because he started out like the military basically hired him to debunk these things.
Yeah.
And then in the end he was like, you know what? We can't explain some of these, like at least 80. Like I believe he's the guy that came up with the with the 80% of these are easily explainable, 20% of them are not so easily explainable, kind of thing.
If you want to hear something like that in a future video, will you please leave a comment with the word blue book in it? And then maybe we can gauge if that's something that people want to hear.
Yeah, so Gary anyway writes this thing. So they get the blue book guys involved. And the blue book guys look into it. And do you know what the blue book guys say is responsible for this?
I think I do, but tell us.
Oh, no, go on. Go with your gut.
It's a bird.
What kind of a bird?
Some kind of tall-legged bird. It's a crane with red eye patches or something.
You're actually thinking of the next thing we're going to talk about.
Oh! Wait. Was it a barn owl?
Yes. It's a barn owl with
red eyes.
A meteor. And the kids saw a meteor, they ran into the woods and they saw a barn owl.
Barn owl.
Yeah, and they run into
angry
the woods.
Barn owl because of meteor.
I don't know if the barn owl was angry, but you know they said this thing like that where like owls' eyes are really weird, you know, like because
if you shine a light in their eyes, they turn red.
Yeah, and that's generally the same for all mammals, but for owls doubly so. Like it
definitely
really,
for my dog anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, like if anybody that's looked at, you remember those photos that people used to take back in the 90s and the
you mean with the before we had digital cameras?
Before we had digital cameras, yeah, with the red
every
eyes,
time
people would have red eyes in them. That's basically the effect, you know, and it's. I mean, in both these cases as well, like, they've tried to explain them away as a kind of a case of mass hysteria, you know? But I knew that the official explanation for this was a meteor and an owl. Okay. You know? So the minute I read...
Not a hootenanny.
No, it's a hootenanny. which is child-friendly, obviously.
And animal safe.
It's animal safe and child-friendly. Right. Who doesn't like a nice scare? But there, so as soon as I read about the hobgoblin, like this Kelly-Hopkinsville incident, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, and then I started looking at this, and then you know, I then did remember another one with a similar avian type explanation as the official explanation, and I think it's what you've hit on there. And this one is also from West Virginia. And it's probably one of the most famous ones as well. So it takes place in a town called Mount Pleasant, or Point Pleasant.
Point Pleasant.
Yeah, Point Pleasant. And I guess, so what it is on November the 15th, 1966, there's these two teenage couples, and they're driving around this area outside of town. And the area is called the TNT area, they call it.
TNT, like
dynamite.
Wow.
Yeah. And what it is that during the war, for a very brief period, for like maybe 2 or 3 years during the war, it was used for manufacturing and storing munitions, you know? So it's, you know, it's loads of bunkers, and these bunkers, like, you can kind of go online and have a look at the bunkers. They're... What is it? Oh yeah. So they've used it for that, but it's been derelict, you know. And by 1966, it's been derelict for over 20 years, you know. It's actually at the moment it's a nature reserve. I think at the time it might have been a nature reserve as well, the McClintock Nature Reserve. Okay. So they've basically just been letting nature kind of reclaim this area or whatever. So these teenagers are driving around in their car. Probably looking for a spot to do a little bit of necking or something, you know, those teenagers. And in the headlights of the car, they see this creature that's like 6 foot tall, and it's got no neck at all, you know? And it's got these weird wings, but the wings don't have feathers on them or anything. And the eyes glow this unearthly red, you know? Yeah. And they just like screech to a halt. Yeah. And they're like looking at each other and, whoa, let's get out of here. So they just do a U-turn and just take off out in the opposite direction, you know? Yeah. And this creature, anyway, takes off after them, you know? And it's following after the car, and it's got its glowing red eyes on it. Ugh. Yeah. and it's taken after them. They're all freaked out. They get to the town, you know, and they report it. And then there's even this what was I going to say? There's this headline that's in the newspaper the next day, you know, the Point Pleasant Gazette or whatever, and it says like, teenagers see bird, moth, something, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's saying, and what happens then is it starts to build from there, you know.
Okay.
So over the next few days, like, people start to, you know, see similar things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that happens a lot.
It does happen a lot. Like, and I mean, like, there's a
creature in the woods. I mean.
So some of the most famous ones are like, there's this couple, or there's these other teenagers that go out and they kind of, you know, like, daring each other to go out, you know.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of no Mothman or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was called, so they go out to the T&T area, and most of the buildings are really low, but there's this one like 3-story building, and while they're out there, they fancy that they can see this figure sitting on top of the building, silhouetted against the sky, and they shine a flashlight up at it, and the eyes just flash red, but it just stays up there on top of the building looking down at them.
Ooh.
And they get all spooked out with those red eyes and they go away, you know?
Yeah.
Then there's another guy called Newell Partridge, you know? And Newell Partridge is like, he's a local contractor, and his TV is giving him real trouble with a couple of weeks, you know?
Okay.
And it's starting to, like, you know, get all fuzzy and blitz out and stuff, and he can't get it to work. And then his German Shepherd goes missing.
No.
And he goes out looking for the German Shepherd and he can't find it. And there's some creature inside in the field beside his house. And he shines the light out and it just stands there looking at him with these glowing red eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he never found the German Shepherd.
Oh no, puppy.
Yeah. And then what happens then is, because you know the story with this because you've seen the book or you've seen the movie and stuff like that with Richard Gere, isn't it, I believe?
Have I?
Yeah, there's a big movie with Richard Gere in it.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
Have you never seen that?
No.
Anyway.
I think the only movie I've seen him in is Pretty Woman. That was him, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, no, that's the only movie I've seen him in.
Well, what happens is that it gets really, because over the course of a year, I don't know how to explain this. Over the course of a year, there's a lot of reports of people seeing it, you know?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of kind of unsubstantiated reports. Yeah?
Yeah.
And when they start to go, they send these 2 firemen out to the T&T area as well, okay? And they said that they made a thorough investigation of it, and that they did find a really large, unusual bird that flew off, and they reckon that that's what it was, you know?
Okay.
So then this other guy, he's Robert L. Smith, and he's an ornithologist from the West Virginia University, and he says that he thinks it's a sandhill crane. Do you want to see a picture of a sandhill crane?
Yeah, show me. Yeah, I could see. Yeah,
because the red bits around the eye, and they're really quite large.
And the feathers are brown, like, and then yeah, it's
and
tall and
they have
creepy.
They have a wingspan of they have a very big wingspan. I'm going to say 12 feet, but I don't know.
No, probably not. What's it in meters?
12 feet would be about 4 meters, 3-4 meters.
So
let's say they've got a wingspan of 6 feet.
6 feet.
That's quite large, right?
That's big. That's man size.
Yeah, but they're really big. But what happens then is a load of people pile on and start writing the books. And the first person to write a book about it, Ray, is your friend and mine, Gary Barker.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Sue.
Sue. We got a lot of friends.
Sue.
No,
have to stop.
It's the guy Gary Barker.
Really?
Yeah, Gary Barker in 1970. So about 3 or 4 years after this happens, he writes a book about it, and he's the first person to write a book about it, and he kind of popularizes it.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah.
Then this guy steps in, this John Keel guy, you know? And John Keel is pretty big. You know, he's a bona fide journalist with newspapers, and then he got into writing kind of like paranormal kind of expose stuff. But as far as I understand it, this is his first book, you know?
Okay.
And he interviews an awful lot of people with stories, you know? And what they're saying is that the Mothman is showing up. They're having prophetic dreams, you know?
Prophetic dreams.
Yeah, about this bridge, the Silver Bridge collapsing, you know? There's reports of UFOs. There's people have got abduction stories, all of these kind of things, yeah?
Oh, okay.
And it builds up around this Mothman legend, you know?
Is this from around that same area?
Well, what happened is that over the course of a year, from November in 66, yeah?
Yeah.
Until the 15th of December in 1967, there was like, according to Keel and also Barker, that there's all these different sightings of the monster and all these different things, you know? Yeah. And then this bridge collapses on the 15th of December.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a real tragedy. Like, a lot of people lose their lives. Like, and it's the narrative that especially Keel tries to spin is that this Mothman was somehow trying to warn them, you know, of the impending danger. So that's
by infiltrating their dreams.
You know, I was never really unclear, because you think you could just like tell people or whatever, you know, because I don't know how a UFO is going to help people go, oh, UFO, of course the Silver Bridge is, you know, we need to get that checked, you know, by the highway guys need to check that or whatever. But
yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
But anyway, that's the thing. That's the thing that comes along. I'm just like, you could have knocked me over with a feather when I heard that Gary Barker was the guy that wrote the book originally, because I knew that John Keel had written a book. Yeah. But I had no idea that Gary Barker had, you know? What a legend, like. So so that's basically it. This one doesn't have the thing, but do you remember the example of the sandhill crane that they said? Yeah? Then I found this article on the Audubon Society. You know, they're the bird guys. Yes. Yeah, like I can't remember the name of the guy, but he was back in the 19th century. He went out into the West, the untamed West, and described loads of birds and printed this beautiful large book. And you know, then he set up in trust this Audubon Society, and they protect birds in North America. You know, or they promote birds and all this kind of thing.
Conservation and.
Yeah, they're like just a general ornithological, educational, conservation, research grant kind of people, you know? Yeah. They're just mad about birds. So then I read this thing, and they were saying, because the Mothman was supposed to have made clicks as well.
Like sounds?
Yeah, like vocalized clicks, you know?
Okay.
And so they were discussing it, and they were saying, oh, well, you know... Robert L. Smith here is probably wrong with the sandhill crane, because you don't get a lot of sandhill cranes in that area, but they're not uncommon there either. Like, you can get them there, you know. But what it most likely is, guess.
An alien. Sorry, are you being facetious?
No. It's a barred owl. That's what they think. Like, they had these three guys discuss it, and even
so it's not a crane.
No, and one guy weirdly said like that. Even ornithologists are freaked out by owls, especially barn owls. They're really freaky. Yeah. He said, but he doesn't think in this case it was a barn owl, because barn owls don't make that kind of vocalization. Right. Okay. But these particular ones, barred owls.
Bard, B-A-R-D.
B-A-R-R-E-D. Bard.
Bard.
Yeah, like that they have bars on them. You know, they're barred.
Barred.
Maybe it's barred owl.
No, I'm joking.
But yeah.
English is,
you know, it's like, what are you doing sometimes in here, owl? You're barred.
Get out, you've had too much.
Oh man, I just want a sandwich and a drink. Been out scaring teenagers. I'm thirsty. I thought this place was a hoot nanny.
I thought you were cool.
I thought this was a hoot nanny.
Oh dear.
So they think it's a barred owl. Do you want to see a barred owl?
Yeah, go on.
I got an action shot of a barred owl here.
Okay.
So that's a barred owl.
Whoa. That is really creepy.
It's cool. It's really cool.
That
isn't
looks
it?
really scary.
I went with the action shot. There's shots of
Yeah.
them sitting in trees and stuff, but I went with the action shot because I like it.
Yeah.
Now, in this case,
Okay.
there's no meteoroid, and there's no indication that this is an extraterrestrial.
Right.
Like, extraterrestrial is one of the explanations they make, but other ones are it's a cryptid or it's some kind of trans-dimensional being. One of our favorites.
Yes.
You know. Then there's
Sasquatch,
yeah, and then there's other
moth money.
There's other stuff I read as well. Do you know that in like 1999 there was like a bombing of an apartment building in Moscow?
No,
They bombed this apartment building in Moscow, and
that's terrible.
yeah, it's. I mean, let's
But there were probably a lot of bombings in 1990. Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean this is a weird one because like there's indications that the FSB did it, but then they're trying to blame it on Chechen separatists and stuff like this. It's actually quite an interesting
How do
thing
you
to look into.
remember all? Okay. Anyway.
I read a long form about it one time. It's really interesting. What was I going to say? Yeah, so there's an American or there's a Russian ufologist that said that people were seeing the Mothman around, and he was warning about stuff, you know.
So he's basically Batman.
He's kind of like, do you know
But
the
not
name?
rich or...
The name comes from Batman because it's in 1966. That was the biggest show on TV. One of the biggest shows was Batman. You know.
Oh.
Do you know the old Adam West pow?
Yeah.
Biff, bang. So they kind of called it after that.
Huh.
You know. But then I there's a few other ones, but I can't name anything specifically. But there's a couple other places where they're like, oh, right before that happened, the Mothman showed up for about 6 months, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
And then there's the suggestion that he's a cryptid, you know, like Bigfoot or the Chupacabra or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Chupacabra. And then, I mean, there's no. I threw it in there because I knew that owls had been tied in here as well. And it's such a big one, like the Mothman one, you know?
Oh, I definitely messed that up. Sorry, keep going. You're fine.
I guess I'm kind of finished if you want to... I mean, one of the interesting things to me about this is that, like, now all of the aliens are homogenized in a way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're all some variation of... we can't call them the G word anymore.
G word.
They're all some.
No, they're Space Brothers.
There's some variation of our small, Space Brothers.
Because they said that there were so many species and
they
come from all over and.
Yeah. There's
But are they really extraterrestrial or are they just
interdimensional
or just old, ancient beings that are, you know, beyond our understanding.
The ancient races of Atlantis and Lemuria.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean that's...
How do you know what I mean? Like, because, you know, humans have only been evolved for X amount of time, so, like...
Yeah.
Nature would have ruled for so long, like... Anyway, that's just a theory.
Yeah.
I'm sure that has to be, like... that there has to be a theory like that out there somewhere.
I think Timothy Leary said something like, you know, whatever the UFO phenomenon is, like it's clear that it's something that it's not extraterrestrials, it's something beyond our understanding that's trying to communicate with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's, you know, or I mean, I've heard people posit that they're like an ancient. They're the original inhabitants of the earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, they live on a higher plane, or sometimes their technology is so advanced, and you know.
Are they the same people that also talk about the theory of like extraterrestrials are using us as like test tube babies? That they're using this planet to like test out the human race. They're using us for testing nukes and stuff like that, and they're planting
there's
ideas in our heads and stuff.
100%, 100%. A lot of this takes off in earnest after the first nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
You know, that's really, and a lot of the themes, not so much now, but a lot of the themes of the early kind of UFO stuff is that they're warning us about nuclear bombs and stuff like that, you know.
But no, not that they're warning us, but that they were the ones to control us into testing these things that they weren't willing to do in their own planets.
Wow.
Like that they were doing inception on us, or like they were lifting people up and abducting them to implant ideas.
Yeah.
To also to do the breeding program, and also to all that kind of freaky stuff.
The unseen hand, like
the unseen hand.
Oh wow.
But instead of being benevolent, they're malevolent. So, they're rocketing us towards extinction.
I mean, if you're going to be making stuff up like that, I really like the narratives where there's good aliens and bad aliens, and you know what I mean. They're like.
Sure, okay, but like still, you know what I mean? Like before humans existed on this planet, this planet was a soup.
Okay.
Right? And then and then suddenly we got like seaweed, and then trees, and then bacteria that became living organisms that moved on land.
I don't know if it was suddenly like it was...
No, I'm
I'm
really speeding this up.
I know what you mean.
But it would have it took so long for humans to become humans, clearly.
Yeah.
That we would have evolved. Now, if you're a creationist, get out of my channel, first of all. But secondly, seriously, like if you're mad into this idea that aliens planted us here, or they used part of their DNA to create us as babies, to test us out for all this theoretical stuff.
Like the Anunnaki and stuff like that, is it?
I really don't know. I don't know much about the Anunnaki, but I think that's on the same lines that I'm talking about.
That's a lot of the, like Zachariah Sitchin and stuff like that. That's a lot of the roots of where a lot of that comes from. Like that the Anunnaki, they come from Nimeria, like planet 10, you know. And they pass into our they're on a really wide orbit around the sun.
Yeah.
And they pass into our solar system like every 10,000 years or whatever. And that they're the gods of, And
there are major events every 10,000 years.
That's what they say.
Civilization.
And they're the major, they're the gods, the Babylonian gods, you know?
Yeah.
And that they would have came down and taken primates and genetically engineered them to make them into humans. And I believe, I've never actually read any of it, but I believe that that might have been done so that they could mine gold on their own planet or something.
Okay, that's silly.
It's so silly.
That's silly. But anyway, no.
But that's the kind of like the kernel that a lot of that stuff coalesces around. You know what I mean? To make a little pearl of.
I just think that
nonsense.
like if you're gonna go all out, like these cryptids could be what ruled the planet before humans. You know how like people are always fascinated with the idea that maybe there were dragons because they're so prevalent. Mermaids and things like this.
Yeah.
That maybe they once did exist and that we wiped them out. Or maybe the aliens did it.
Maybe somewhere there's like mermaids and Mothman hanging out. Dude. I'm so glad I got off.
The giant octopi.
there's way better.
Giant squids.
There's way better parties on Nimeria. I'm so glad to be here. Do you know what's interesting about it as well is like I was saying is, do you know they haven't really come up with what an alien looks like yet. Do you know?
What do you mean?
Because like they're so different. Like I mean,
there's loads of them.
There's loads of different ones, but like, do you know the one that you think of now is the what? We got to come up with something other than Space Brother, do we?
I don't know. I mean, I'm only saying it because it was something said early on and it's kind of catchy.
Yeah. So yeah, our Space Brothers, who are a kind of colour that you get if you mix black and white.
That's a racial slur, and that should not be laughed about, except for the fact that it's just kind of funny to think that aliens would care.
Yeah. I don't even see space color, you know what I mean?
I can't. Anyway. Where did my thing go? Yeah, so where were you going with that?
I just think it's interesting, like, it's, you know, because there's never been another alien creature like the Flatwoods one. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Or there's never been another one like the Kelly-Hopkinsville
I wonder if
one.
the Doctor Who people did take the image of the Flatwoods creature and
make it into a Dalek?
Yeah.
Maybe so.
I mean, it's really, really uncanny, isn't it?
Yeah.
How similar they are.
It is, yeah. It's such an unusual. You don't even know how it works. It just floats around the place or something.
Yeah, like how it looks heavy.
And it's
in woods.
It's got to be said as well that, like, the Kelly-Hopkinsville one attacked people, right?
Yeah.
And this one here in Point Pleasant, the Mothman chased people.
Yeah.
Okay? Or looked at them menacingly and may or may not have stolen the guy's German Shepherd. You know? But the one in Flatwoods, it scared some kids.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It just kind of floated, though.
Yeah, and it like dragged its hand across. Like, it could have just been down. It might have been down here, like, and it might have just been like, okay, this time, Zark, just be cool. Just say hi. You always get so nervous in front of people. Just say hi. You're going to make friends this time, you know?
Yeah. Slowly. Don't move fast. Just be cool, man.
Just float there. Maybe if I just put my arm against this car here, just act nonchalant, like, just.
It'll be fine.
When they look your way, just go, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, the traditional Zargian greeting.
Now you're making me feel bad for the Flatwoods monster.
The other thing as well is that, like, in both of those places, Flatwoods and the Mothman place.
Yeah.
In both those places in West Virginia, they're a major source of, like, tourism and stuff.
Of course.
Like, I'd go to Point Pleasant, like, just to check it out, like, you know?
Was that around the time that they, like, stopped coal mining in West Virginia?
I don't know.
Maybe they haven't, actually. Maybe that was just something.
I never even thought about looking into the connections between it and
you know, and tourism and getting people employed and that sort of thing. Anyway, yeah.
I just thought it was really interesting, the connection between owls and all of this stuff, you know, because owls are traditionally they're a spooky creature, like, you know.
They're pretty creepy.
I mean, anything that can hear a mouse walking from a mile away,
right,
is pretty scary.
Can you imagine the headache, like?
You kids, keep it down in that car. George, chase him out of here.
Put on the high beams, like.
Yeah.
Make that weird sound that you never make, just to scare them.
just trying to make friends. So yeah, I mean, it's just interesting, and, like, you know, they were even, like, aren't owls the messengers of the gods in Greek mythology? Am I wrong there?
Yeah.
Are they?
Is it Artemis or Athena?
Artemis is
Goddess
the
of
name
wisdom?
of the goddess of wisdom. Yeah, and her.
She's the one with the owls, I think.
Yeah, and it's the sigil of the Athenians as well, isn't it? Of Athens?
Athenians.
Athenians, is that how you say it?
Yes.
Cool.
Sorry, it's all coming back. It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah.
Share. I was sorry. James is looking at me like I've grown another head.
Popular musician share?
Yes. When I was doing one of these videos and it popped in my head, and then I was like, who even sings that song? Because I was born in 87 and like...
Is that not Celine Dion?
Oh, Jesus. Did it again. Yes, it's Celine Dion.
It's all coming back to me.
Listen. Listen. All right, my memory is obviously not reliable.
Of forgetfulness.
Right, so is that's it for today, I think.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah. What do you think? What are you watching? The greater you. What are you thinking about these monsters? Monsters? Are they considered monsters? I don't know if they're
the guys in the Hobgoblin, yeah. The Mothman, I don't know, and the Flatwoods guy, I think is just misunderstood. You know?
I think it's a Dalek.
I think 100% misunderstood. It never even did anything to anyone, like, you know?
It was just trying to be friendly, like.
It was just, yeah, and it's like gone back to its home planet now, and it's like, do not go to Earth. The people there are just, they're like,
nope.
Every time I showed up, I was like,
no crack.
Yeah.
No fun.
Hey, you guys know if there's a motel around?
Do you know where I could get change for a $5?
Yeah, is there anywhere good to eat in this town? Oh, they're gone.
Well, that would be kind of suspicious.
Asking if there's anywhere good to eat in town.
Yeah. You know, because dinner. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for joining us for today's video. And if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave us a thumbs up down below. Subscribe for more, because this should be happening pretty much every Tuesday. Unless something happens, and then, you know, or if we run out of ideas. But you guys are a good source of ideas, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
Keep those suggestions coming in, because well, one, I like reading them, but also, you know, it helps. It helps. So thanks very much. Anything else you'd like to add, darling?
No, not really.
Thank you very much for all of your kind words and support. And we hope that you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Have a great time.
Bye.